If you're like many of my clients, you desperately want out of corporate life. Yes, it's been good to you, but you've hit your ceiling. That point of diminishing returns, it's hurting your life, your potential, and what you're meant to be and do and have. And you dream of entrepreneurial freedom, even if you can't quite figure that out exactly right now. So it leads to the core question that I see so many people struggling with, which is why do so many smart people stay stuck for years despite knowing what they want? Well, first, I think about the common patterns that I see. First is just wishing and taking tiny actions. For example, talking about wanting to break free of corporate and to build their own business, but it's very much on the sidelines. It's not in the arena playing full out. They don't actually establish momentum, traction, and they start to let time slip away. And they think they're getting better. They are reading the right books, they're listening to the right podcasts, hell, maybe even in this one, right? And they're starting to feel like things are getting better, but tangibly, things aren't getting better anytime soon. They're still stuck in a job that seems to overwhelm them, overrun them, and they're not making tangible progress. All the while, time is slipping through their fingers. Their family is growing up. They're missing precious moments. They're not earning what they should be. And frankly, they're not feeling alive, which is probably the most damning thing of all. Of when you feel low energy, everything and everyone in your world is impacted by that. So what do you do where you know you want this transformation? You want to graduate corporate life and you're like on the cusp of doing something, but you're not really doing anything. Well, what you need is this: forcing functions. It's a term in psychology. Essentially, we need to create the conditions in our lives to take bold actions, to compress timelines, to do things that we wouldn't otherwise do due to fear, doubts, other things in your life that are overwhelming you. You need to create conditions in your life through forcing functions, which help you force action quickly to get to new states. For example, unlocking from your day job, turning it into a tool. If you're working 11 hours a day right now, how do you take action, establish forcing functions so that you're now working 5 to 6 hours a day, quietly, under the radar? No one knows any better, but you are still delivering great outcomes and you've got your life back. Or moving into a state of entrepreneurship, surrounding yourself with people that are also going through the hard work of figuring that stuff out together. What are the forcing functions you can create? Now, let me give you some examples of what I've done, what a lot of my clients do, and what we establish so that they take bold action to graduate corporate life. For example, a very obvious one would be to set a firm resignation date. Now, you might not be ready for that yet, but at some point, you have to be. Where you're in a corporate job, it's been comfortable for 20 plus years, and you say, okay, it is now, say, October as I did, I chose March 11th, 2022. I chose that 6 months in advance. And I said, March 11th, 2022 will be my last day in corporate. So I set that intention, drew it on my calendar. Obviously, I was working with my coach and my peer group on that. I was telling my wife about it, my friends and family, my close confidants, and I was establishing this is real, this is real. And my mind was starting to believe this is real, this is real. You're holding yourself publicly accountable to all these people. You don't want to let them down. You set a date. It's not indefinitely into the future, but you set a date. That's a forcing function. Also, things like public commitments. For example, if you're going to start a new business and you're in a place where you can announce that publicly, say without jeopardizing your corporate job, which is also its own nuance to think through, it's putting it out there. By this date, my first program will go live, my first cohort, my first consulting offer, whatever it might be. It's a forcing function to get your ass in gear and do hard things because you don't want to let those people down. You want to live in congruence with what you're telling the outside world. Another thing, and I highly advise this, that I've done this many times over, is a high stakes investment in yourself. You might be very used to investing in all sorts of logical things like stocks or real estate, but you're not really investing in yourself. That might look like joining a coaching program, like a comprehensive one for corporate graduation, like Uncaged Life Design that we run, or some specific thing you need, a certain upgrade, a certain mental tuning, a certain strategy that you need to learn. Put yourself in coaching programs, in masterminds, take a course, things that say, hey, we are committing to this outcome. And I always encourage when you're investing in something, make sure it's outcome focused so you know why you're there and if you're hitting the marks. Other small things for forcing functions might be like daily accountability systems. I have an accountability partner. She and I go back and forth every day. We text each other. Here's the big three things I'm going to accomplish today. The end of the day, we say, here's the big three things that I accomplished, whatever that might be. And I hold myself accountable. I want that healthy pressure. And she has that same thing with me. We go back and forth like this. Little partnerships like that can go a long way, where you put it to other people and you want to live into what you said you were going to do. You don't want to let them down because you'd also be letting yourself down. So you've got to create conditions like this. Or another one might be, hey, we're going to go live with this new business. I'm going to talk about it 3 weeks from now on LinkedIn, or I'm going to put an email blast out about it, or I'm going to set 10 catch-up calls with my warm network to tell them and validate my business idea, to see if they might be interested, or if they might know someone who might be interested, or actually just get some critical feedback. You can see things like that. You are creating conditions. Another one that's very important would be establishing cold network connections. Like, I'm going to send 5 messages per day over LinkedIn to cold connections of people that I feel like I could be serving in my future business, even if I'm very early on in my business journey. These are all just little examples of forcing functions to get yourself in gear to do hard things so that you start to normalize hard things and they don't start to feel so hard anymore. And then the results come. Because if you don't have forcing functions, if you don't have people in your life, coaches, mentors, peers, people that you're accountable to, people that you've made promises to, if you don't do these hard things, what happens? Years go by, regret, wishing, dreaming, never acting. And you might find yourself in that state, as many of my clients do, as I was for a period of time before I normalized creating forcing functions in my life. So think about it. What can you do? How can you create conditions in your life so that your success goes from wishing to inevitable? If you need help, jump on over to matthewdunn.com. We've got a lot of resources there. You can obviously book a call with us there too if that's something you need in your life. But get to the bottom of this, establish forcing functions, start taking bold action now. Stop wasting time. Your future self deserves it. There are people in this world that need you right now. Let's get after it.